I'm drinking my first coffee of the day. It's about 12:15 because I got up late, wanted to catch up on sleep, so I had a melatonin the previous night. So I'm sitting down, as I do, to multitask. I pull up some articles, I scroll through Twitter, I'm sipping my coffee, and then I'm like, all right, let's really ease into this. Let's find my zen so I can phase into productivity mode. Maybe record a script that I wrote last week. Maybe do some editing of some footage that I've had for months now. I'll get there, and Lofi Girl's gonna help me do it. So I pull up this album, this nice, pretty, borderline impressionistic album, Tender Spring, Springtime with Friends. In fact, I'm gonna play this while I'm recording this. So I sit here, I'm playing these beats, I take another sip of my coffee, I take my hand off the mouse, I pick up my phone, which I had been listening to Spotify with earlier, and as I'm listening to these beats, I turn on the playlist from before. Our generation multitasks a lot. 9 times out of 10, I take a lot of pride in that. While it's very easy to get distracted, I'm not saying this doesn't have a negative side. I think it's pretty cool that a lot of us have built up this mental muscle to not only edit or type out a Google Doc or work on a fucking spreadsheet, but we can do that while listening to some music or maybe listening to a podcast. Some of us get so good at multitasking that we're able to stack these shits on top of each other like video layers in Adobe Premiere. You will find plenty of people who will be editing a project in a non-linear editing program while listening to a podcast or some kind of NPR news show. And should that not have any background music underneath, you can pull up one of these chill streams. You can ingest multiple pieces of media at the same time. But let's remove work from the equation. You can play a video game while also listening to neoprog. And if you get really, really cocky, you could pull up some seminar that was recorded about metaphysics. It's like, oh yeah, it's Steven Wilson, Noam Chomsky, and Breath of the Wild. I'm gonna ingest all of that at the same time. We can do that, and that's pretty cool. There is no sane millennial or Zoomer alive who is trying to listen to 2 sources of music while trying to just start their day. It's a casual time. It's not that casual. It's not compartmentalizing your brain so you can comprehend 2 separate pieces of music at the same time. Obviously, this took me aback enough that I had to tell somebody. I have to get the word out there that there's this new brainworm that convinces you that you're such hot shit that you can decipher 2 oral pieces of art at the same time. Like, who knows? Maybe this will create a new trend where you do try to find the symmetry and the underlying poetry shared between 2 completely different songs, but I don't think we're there yet. I really don't think so. I don't know, man. Again, like this is all cool. Everything that we're able to do, everything that I'm doing this morning is super cool. I don't take that for granted. There's so many people on the face of the earth who don't even have a computer, let alone a phone or a way to listen to music on the go. But man, dude, the balls one has to have to just casually do that without even thinking. We'll see where I place this in the bigger picture of another piece of content. But God, that's really funny to me. Here's another installment in chill content to Mope 2. We'll see if this actually becomes a recurring series or not. I already got State of the Noosk. I got this. My ideal situation would be to kind of like merge those 2 formats into one entity where it's like a variety show and a think piece type of thing, all wrapped up in a relatively low-key, quasi-relaxing, if still somewhat sad style. Anyway, I'm coming here after the release of my Lofi Girl video. Super thankful for and impressed by Sister Zio's editing job on that. I thought it turned out great. Go check out her shit if you haven't yet. She's way bigger than me. It's not like my shout out amounts to much, but she be my daughter and shit. And thanks again to Barbie Wire, or Babs, for their wonderful, chillaxing ASMR reading of that lo-fi album. Thought it really demonstrated just how useful and nice of a mindset that stuff can put you in, despite... Okay, so that video was about how chill and cool everything can be and is, but there is an element to all of this that I probably should address, and Babs did point this out to me while we were talking. I still feel everything I addressed in that video, by the way. I still think it's an objective good to put that much art out into the ether for people to discover and to use. However, one thing that's not super cash money, in my opinion, is the, as Babs put it, late capitalist angle to this whole subgenre of chill music to do X, Y, or Z to, because there is this undercurrent of implied or assumed labor involved. For instance, on this stream, we've got work and jazz, chill jazz music, work, jazz, background ambience for concentration. It's a little too clinical, a little too office spacey. Like, I think Lumberg would come up with the idea to be like, yeah, I'm gonna need you to turn on your work music. The others in the office aren't really feeling this hyper pop that you play while working on your spreadsheet. This is very catered by whoever's cutting your checks, if you feel me. Here, let's just, like, it is a stone's throw away from what I was talking about in the last video. Productive music for work, chill out music, late night work. Those are contradictory things, my dude. Work, a chill mix. but that looks like a fucking Casey Neistat blog. Traveling around the fucking pine-wooded wilderness of Seattle or some like obscure European nation with a dock and that fucking Ozark-ass fog. I haven't even seen Ozark. I probably should. But work, a chill, like, again, coffee rain, relaxing jazz music with coffee shop ambience. All right, great. Chill music for study work. All right. Babs, you were on point. Like, even my girl with her fuck off 450 million viewed chill hop stream, relax and study. Like, I feel like with study, there's at least an innocence to it. You know, these poor students, sometimes literally, these poor students and their heavy workloads, they have all this beauty in the world and they're stuck inside transcribing notes on a chapter or writing the outline for a major presentation, all this stuff. Here, let's help them relax. Like, it's the angle I took. I stand by it. I'm not gonna fucking throw away the points that I made. It really is the packaging, though. It's what's assumed that's kind of wee-woo. This is more congruent with that ambient penthouse video. Like, all the implied intrinsic value in the work part. It's like, that one's all about, hey, let's grind, let's get that shit because that'll make us happy. This is like, all right, you need something that's easy on the ears, not really something you need to commit to, unintrusive to whatever you're doing, because maybe you're multitasking. Multitasking, relax, studying, again, innocence, as much of an argument as you could make against like what one is preparing for in their school days. Especially like westernized, standardized SAT bullshit where high scores, like my educational career is fucking Galaga. Again, it's all about lenses. Lenses, people. A reading, not the reading. Beauty put out into the world that can be used to make the workload easier, less stressful. That's objectively there, objectively good. Other lens, hey droney, we know we've assigned you a literal milk carton to live in for the next 6 months while you study, burn the candle at both ends for this field of study that's only going to be relevant to you like for a few years after you get your fucking diploma. I'm blackpilling. I don't want a black pill. Why are you doing this to me, world? Fuck you, Barbie Wire, and your sense of how we could be exploited by the social structures in place that we aren't necessarily looking for. You beautiful fucking thing, you musician ass, drag queen ass, making me smart. Get the fuck out of here. I guess all I'm really getting at is like, yeah, those trappings, you know, those study work trappings I talked about in the Lo-Fi video. On one hand, they are cute. They're comical in just how fucking common and easily copied they are. At the end of the day, though, they are a product there to sell you fucking Dr. Squash soap. Keep calm, use stack over. What the fuck does this mean? I'm gonna read between the lines on this one in particular. The art's appealing. I like the pet. I like whatever the fuck this is. I like the Gorilla Grip tripod with the DSLR on it. Like, this is much more similar to my desk than, you know, Lofi Girl's. What the fuck is Stack Overflow? When a program attempts to use more space than is available on the call stack, that is, when it literally attempts to access memory behind it, the stack is said to overflow, typically resulting in a program crash. Infinite recursion. The most common cause of Stack Overflow is excessively deep or infinite recursion, in which a function calls itself so many times that the space needed to store the variables and information associated with each call is more than... Okay, so it's overworking the computer? Okay, so this is like to calmly panic whilst pushing yourself beyond your limits. It's like the techie, eyeballs eternally glued to my computer screen version of Can't Stop, Won't Stop, athlete, entrepreneur talk. Great. It's even got the fucking crown that I didn't see there. I guess the lesson of this ramble is just that for every cool thing, who's making Ahsoka study? I don't want everyone to look for the sinister subtext of every remotely cool thing. Like, I'm not that guy. I'm not pro that. Because to me, like, a lot of this is goals. Like, I would love to have so many interests that I can scratch whenever I feel like it. Look, fucking Pulp Fiction poster. You got these lips. You got these neon lips. You got this Eastern instrument. You got a synthesizer. You got the Vertigo poster. All right, so you're into the 90s indie boom as well as the classics. I can appreciate that. You have cassette tapes, more synths and keyboards in the back. You got a vinyl. Like, this is goals. For me, this is my penthouse, because it's not just, I'm gonna take this girl back to this place I rented and I'm gonna fuck her. Then we're gonna look at the night sky as I just think about where the fuck my life's going, Blade Runner style. I don't want that. I want a busy, messy room where I've got fucking toys everywhere, instruments. I say all that, and yet I also acknowledge this is a vibe that's been appropriated to sell soap. I'm probably gonna watch my own dang fucking lo-fi video just to undo the sour taste I've put in my own mouth. Taxi Driver? Yo, this guy's based. This guy really does have his shit figured out, because on top of the fun old school boomer movies and then the slightly newer boomer movies, he's also watching Taxi Driver. I'm gonna go ahead and assume, just from the pink lighting and the very like Seattle art student chakras coming off of this thing, that he watches Taxi Driver, and his initial reaction to it's not, yeah, God, I wish that were me, and more so, wow, this is what American culture does to those who don't have their life figured out like I do. I'm really hoping for that. I hope he cues that shit up. It's like, man, I want Bernard Herrmann's score injected into my veins. I want to watch Bob's incendiary and influential performance. I want that Paul Schrader story about the void of compassion mixed with proto-incel individuals. Like, that's why this guy has that poster. Anyway, yeah. I still like all of this shit. I still constantly use it. Just stay woke to the socio-political undercurrent of why things might be set up the way they are. Like, the abundance of these things must mean that there's a market demand to keep the workers happy and not too focused on the 21st century blackpilling that is just second nature to people who do a little too much deep reading, kind of like me. I'm stressed now. I'm gonna turn my girl back on.
Chris Christopherson.
Who's that?
The songwriter. He's a prophet. He's a prophet and a pusher. Partly truth, partly fiction. Walking contradiction.
So I'm daydreaming, as I do, hypothetical scenarios where I interact with people based off of, previous interactions. The last time I was in a situation where I was constantly going out with buds in a way that meshed together, hanging in public and potential networking, people who are interested in the entertainment industry and stuff that I'm interested in. I'm spindly and wiry and don't feel 100% at home at new places. So I come off younger than I actually am, which then invites people who are a bit more forward and chest puffy to feel like they can then give me advice or present themselves in a way. It's like, hey fella, hey little fella, you know what you could do? Which, it is what it is. It's more often than not just them trying to strike up a conversation and be friendly. But it never helps my ego, as a 27-year-old man. So it's dawned on me that maybe the reason other spindly fucks like me, when they make it dress the way they do, is to repel the chances of that happening. I think I would much rather have people assume that I was a conceited asshole just because I'm wearing cardigans and those like wristbands that they arbitrarily wear. Like basically by being the version of myself that you could compare to that John Mulaney bit where he went on Conan and pretended to be like a reformed, free-spirited Hollywood type.
And we have a new thing where we bring classical music to the inner city. It's called Violins Against Violence. And written out, it makes sense, but we did a radio ad that was a disaster. Yeah. We said, come down to the inner city and fight violence with violence, and even I was confused.
He decreases the chances of anyone wanting anything to do with him, which would include people who would talk to him in a way that just totally deflates his ego. I don't know what I'm saying. Like for the last few years, I've wanted to be flowier. That's what this has been. I have flowy shit to wear. I only wear it like publicly as a costume or around people who I know already get it. Like that's within me. That look appeals to me. I like to think I'm not that fucking asshole who will just like waltz into a party and be like, oh yeah, chakras, alternative health foods. I went to Seattle for a douchebag convention. The funniest part about this is like I prefer to be with those people than these other dudes I'm talking about. But I think like functionally, I would benefit from having a social repellent. Maybe that's all confidence is. A social repellent. Like just refining the kinds of people you want near you and talking to you and picking your brain. That kind of protection would do wonders for my sense of self and like my own ego. I think I'm entitled to one of those.